Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's edition of Advanced Bass Fishing, and really appreciate you guys joining me for today's video. Guys, I'm here actually on Lake Wheeler. We got that Toyota Series Championship, and I got noticing how low the water is here. You guys can see over there the water's super low, and that gave me an idea. I want to give you guys some advanced tips and advice on how bass react and how bass bite and what bass do during low water conditions, which are normally associated with the fall time of the year and the winter time. So we're going to get into that in today's video, sort of give you guys a good little seminar on that. Also, guys, if you like advanced bass fishing here and you want to do something to help the channel out, several different things you can do, man. You can just hit that subscribe button. It's free and easy. You can unsubscribe anytime you want, but you never miss a video if you hit that notification button. And also, probably two of the best things you can do are use and bookmark my tackle warehouse link anytime you need to purchase tackle. They got a bunch of good Black Friday sales going on right now. And as well, check out our Fish the Moment lake map breakdown link. These are maps I built for fishthemoment.com. Great resources to learn more about your favorite lakes. So I'll put all those links in the description of the video, guys, if you want to help out the channel there. Really appreciate that. Okay, I want to dive into this on a little bit deeper level here, like we do in advanced bass fishing, to sort of give you guys an understanding of what the bass do when the water level drops. Now, one of the things, like I said, that we talk about here on the channel a lot that, loses everybody's attention on the other channels when we talk about it is the bass movement, seasonal patterns, their behaviors based upon different conditions that they encounter. So that's sort of how I want to approach it like this, and we'll get a little bit in the techniques on it. Now, normally what you have in the cycle of a lake throughout the course of the year, normally you have the lowest water levels in the fall and the winter time, and then the lakes, gradually get fuller, in the springtime of the year, and sometimes they stay higher in the summer than they do in the fall and the winter time. But a lot of the lakes, they want to draw them down to winter pool, for a lot of different reasons, power generation and some other stuff. But typically, that's sort of the months of October through, February, you have some pretty low water conditions. Here at Lake Wheeler right now, it looks like to me the lake's probably 3 or 4 foot below normal, which is, significant on a river lake. Some lakes will fluctuate 30 or 40 feet. But nevertheless, when the water drops, the fish do the same thing in a lot of different lakes across the country. So here's one of the things that you have to understand about dropping water, what the bass do and how they bite. They are not victim of the water dropping. In other words, I think one of the biggest myths that there are in bass fishing is when the water starts falling, the fish back off and move deeper because the water's falling. That has not been my experience whatsoever. It's like most of the time in the fall and the early winter time, when the lakes start to drop and they get low, that is the time of year the fish get shallower than they are any other time of year. And they get shallow and they use whatever cover's available. Sometimes they don't even need cover. They like to be shallow in the fall and the early winter when the water drops. There's something about dropping water that moves those fish shallow. It's one of those sort of the paradoxes that we don't quite understand in fishing. Now, I have some theories myself. I think a lot of times when you have shorter daylight hours and you have some dropping water temperatures, there may be some feeding opportunities up in that really shallow water that didn't exist during the summertime of the year. There may be some herring or minnows or shad that are shallower than the normal. Crawdads are probably still shallow. Water temperatures are maybe more suitable for them. There's a lot of different reasons. I think that bass, are like people in the sense that half of them live shallow and half of them live deep all the time. But in the fall time of the year, half of those bass will get shallow and shallow and shallow. So what you need to look for is when I'm on a lake where they're drawing it down, I'm looking for those fish to be shallow, but with maybe some proximity to deeper water. That's why I like the flatter banks. I mean, you guys, let me show you this bank right here. I'll show you what I'm talking about here. Now, if you look across the creek right here, there's the channel bank over there. That's the channel side. And look right here. See this flat right here? You can see the water's low. That flat right there that doesn't look like much, that's a key area. Those, for whatever reason, I catch more bass on those flat type of banks that don't have much cover on it versus the banks that have the good cover on it across it. Now, when you're doing that, like I said, there may not be any visible cover there, but there may be something under the water. There may be some rock piles, or maybe some logs, or maybe some brush. If you have a lake that's got grass, there may be some grass on it, but you don't have to have it. You know, you can catch them just off the bare, flat, nothing looking banks when they're dropping water. And guys, one of the best ways to catch them this time of year is on a little lipless crankbait, like a little I prefer like a 1/4 ounce rattle trap, like a small one, or maybe even a 1/2 ounce rattle trap. But you can take those lipless crankbaits if you have water visibility really under 3 feet. Ideally, I like it to be like maybe 1 foot to 2 foot, something like that. And I get on those flatter, gravelly type banks on the low water and just cover water with it. Now, as the water gets cleaner, I still fish those same type of banks. I don't care if I'm on Table Rock Lake or Bull Shoals or down here in, you know, Alabama. I'm still fishing these flat banks, and my technique is going to be dictated by the water clarity. So if that water clarity's got some stain to it, like I just talked about, the lipless crankbait's going to be really good, maybe a square bill crankbait. But as that water clarity gets cleaner, that's when you can catch them on some other baits like a topwater and especially a fluke. Those are probably my 2 favorite deals. My 2 favorite techniques is getting out on these flat banks, and you know, points are probably better, obviously, but you can catch them on straight stretches. But get just a walking topwater like that, either Megabass Diamante, Zara Spook, anything like that. Cover water on those flats and just try to key on that water between like 3 to 10 foot deep if the water visibility is over 3 feet. And then again, you can take a fluke, like a pearl colored or white fluke, and fish it over the same type of areas. And if there's fish out there cruising on those flats, which they do a lot, they'll come up and get that fluke or that, or that walking topwater quite a bit. Now, if it's windy, if you happen to have a condition where it's windy and the water's got some good clarity to it, like over 3 foot of clarity, you can catch them burning a spinnerbait real good. Take just a small bladed spinnerbait, fan cast all around those flat banks, just burn it like an inch underneath the water. I've caught a bunch of fish doing that. Also, in addition to the lipless crankbait, if you have a little bit more stained water, sometimes you can catch them on a buzzbait or like a whopper plopper, especially if you got some little bit deeper water next to the flats. Now, that's another thing that you have to remember. Just because I'm fishing flat banks out there, it doesn't mean like I'm out on there, it goes out forever with no water depth. Ideally, I want to be on those flat banks like that, but I want to have some type of relative proximity to a little bit deeper water. So perfect scenario would be is if I'm on that bank that I just showed you, that one right there, and say my boat was, I don't know, 30 or 40 feet off the bank, I'd be sitting in, 5 or 6 or 7 foot of water, throwing to the bank on those flat banks. I don't really want to be like in 2 foot of water or 3 foot of water, casting into the bank 30 or 40 feet away in 6 inches of water. So, it's all relative to how the bank drops off. Now, one way you can find that is just look on your Navionics or your GPS, and you can find the contours that are fairly close to those flatter areas. Another thing that works pretty good sometimes on those deals is like a swing head jig, like the Biffle hard head, something like that, football head jig, dragging it across like that. But I'm not saying you can't catch them on the steeper stuff or the deeper stuff out there, but it's been my experience that they just get shallow this time of year. And it doesn't really matter if the water's clear or stained or whatever. There's a percentage of the bass that will move to those flat type banks when the water drops. And another good thing about it is if you can spend time fishing when you have really low water levels, try to get out there, because you can learn a lot about the lake. It's like if you get out on the lake that you fish a lot and say it's 5 or 6 or 7 foot low, you can find little rock piles, little trash piles, cover that you didn't know that was there. And remember it, when that water gets up, you can go back and catch fish on those same places. So anyway, guys, fall fishing, as long as that water temperature is over about, over low 50s, once it gets below 50 degrees, not so much, they're not going to be that good. But as long as that water temperature is, say, 54, 55 or warmer, these are just great areas to fish, and they don't get near the fishing pressure because they just don't look good. So anyway, I hope it helps you catch a few. We'll talk later.